Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to Nindie Nation episode 99. I'm Jeff, and if you're new here, welcome to your one-stop weekly shop for everything independently developed for the Nintendo Switch. This week, we're covering all of the indie games hitting the eShop from January 17th through the 23rd, and after we're done there, we'll check out the best deals of the week to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced. New episodes post to YouTube on Tuesdays, and the audio podcast feed is hosted by our friends at the Nintendo Village. We're currently publishing our Best Nindies of 2020 series, so keep an eye out for that, and Thursdays are reserved for the Nindies Nite live stream. If you want to chat about indies or keep up with our schedule, subscribe to Nindie Nation on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at Nindie Nation. Also, stick around at the end of the episode because I have a request for episode 100, and I'm gonna need your help. I was so foolish. I thought our first section where we cover the games that released since we last talked might be going the way of the dodo. But oh no, it's alive and well, and it seems every shovelware developer is out in full force this week, but there's still some cool titles worth checking out too. So let's get our last double-digit episode of Nindie Nation off the ground by taking a look at the 13 neglected Nindies with 9 Nindie no-nos that released since episode 98. All right, first up this week is...
Get over here!
I wonder where they got that name. It's a $5
multiplayer party game with a gimmick.
And that gimmick is using a harpoon gun to pull people out of their safe zone to score points. And it's developed by Flux Games. Medulla is a puzzle platformer by Lamondo Games that released for $10. And at first glance, I thought it had an art style similar to Where the Wild Things Are. But the more I saw, the more I realized it's quite a bit more disturbing than that, but a by-the-books puzzle platformer nonetheless. And Nami Tentu brings their pixelated ping-pong puzzle game, say that 3 times fast, called Ping Redux to the Switch for $4.99. Think Breakout, but with the goal of reaching a specific item buried within the stage. It looks kind of fun. Spracklesoft is a studio we haven't heard from in a while, but they're best known for making mobile ripoff games. Last week, they released 16-Bit Soccer, which is a weird name because it definitely looks more like an 8-bit game. If playing a soccer game with the camera zoomed out so far it looks like ants running around on a field sounds like fun, you could actually try it for yourself as there's a demo available, and if this neglected Nindie turns out to be up your alley, you can pick it up for $4.99. Probably my favorite neglected Nindie of the week is one that is a dime a dozen, but hey, if you want an asteroids-inspired twin-stick shooter, you could do worse than Ocean Media's offering. It's called Zotrix Starglider, which also happens to be the name of the band that formed after Jefferson Starship swapped band members for the second time. Is that too old of a joke? It dropped for $10, which is a bit steep, but I'll be wishlisting this one and looking forward to giving it a shot when it goes on sale. You might be thinking,
Those are the games that dodged the Nindie no-no moniker?
And with the exception of Zotrix Starglider, I totally feel you. Not the most impressive list this week. Next up, however, are the 8 titles that are not recommended under any circumstances, and we call these the Nindie no-nos. My Magic Florist by Cool Small Games is anything but. They take one of those mobile cooking games and slap fairies, witches, and floral arrangements into the mix, and it should keep $4.19 safely within your digital wallet.
12 Labors of Hercules 3 Girl Power
is another $8 release by Jet Dogs that attempts to blend time-wasting game mechanics with characters who borderline on IP infringement, and it includes wonderful description bullets such as
Remove obstacles, collect food and wood, and mine gold.
All of which are just, tapping on said thing.
And complete in gold time and build the great castle.
Snap Finger Click is a publisher I don't think we've seen before, and their game of charades prompts might be fun, but there's no reason for it to be on the Switch, and I'm willing to bet you can find the exact same game for free somewhere on the App Store. It's called Act It Out XL, a game of charades, and if it were a buck or two, it might be worth throwing on your Switch. But at $11.99,
it's definitely a no for me, dog.
Remember last week's PixArts Games segment? I you not, Saybeck is releasing the exact same game as PixArt's dogfighting air combat game, but this time they've named it Dogfight. I mean, it's the exact same game. That gives me even more evidence that these games are just asset swaps from development engines, and at $9.99, it places Saybeck into an even lower category of publisher than I already knew existed. And Kairosoft is back, the developer who made one game a decade ago called Game Dev Story, and has since repurposed it into any type of time-wasting management sim they can. This week's is $14, this week's is Silver Screen Story, and this week would be a great time for Kairosoft to vanish from the eShop. Ultimate Games is scraping the bottom of the barrel again, this time with Solar Blast for $4.99. You play as the sun and have to protect yourself from incoming stuff, and while you've definitely seen games like this before, you probably avoided them at the time, and you should do that again here. Finally, Piotr Skalski ported 2 more games to the Switch, and actually they both seem kind of fun in premise, but in my experience, his games have been technical train wrecks at best, so it's hard for me to recommend them. Bullet Trail is a first-person puzzle game with a really weird kids' coloring book art style that has you navigating a bullet through obstacles to hit a target. Think of any first-person shooters where you control a remote rocket launcher, like Metal Gear Solid. It's like that, but built as a mobile puzzle game. That one's $3. And the other is Wacky Run, also for $3, and this title takes the same bizarre art style and builds a third-person obstacle course similar to what you'd see on TV shows like Wipeout. What do you think? Anything here tickle your fancy? Anything you want to see on the next Nindies at Night? Let me know in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. This coming week is massive. There's a few diamonds in the rough, and I'm really excited to share those with you, but man, I gotta warn ya, it's like the Avengers of mobile port bullshit have assembled and are attacking the eShop in full force. But we'll get through this together, citizens, and we'll make sure to shine a spotlight on the games that are worth your time. As such, here are the 30 indies releasing for the Switch from January 17th through the 23rd. You know those parts in Super Mario Galaxy where Mario is in a bubble and you have to navigate him through obstacle courses? Take that concept, replace Mario with a stick, and just make it not good. And you've got Spinny's Journey, which releases on January 18th by Thunder Sparrow for $1. What's that? It's not $1? Well, how much is it? $15? Oof. Bad form, Thunder Sparrow. Bad form. Next is a title I've heard quite a bit about, but I honestly can't tell if that's because it's good or because the marketing team at Shinyuden is super effective. Red Colony is a 2D side-scrolling action horror game developed by Runic Codes, and it releases for $6.29. The art style is pretty weird and walks the line between unique and just off-putting, but it is a horror game, I suppose. The description touts that it has
anime-style graphics featuring an attractive female cast.
So I mean, that'll sell a few copies. Most of the game has muted, kinda drab colors, but then the main character has these ginormous gazongas in a tight red tank top that just, she needs to see a doctor because she has to have scoliosis. There's a decent amount of excitement for its unique approach to the genre, and just about every other Nindie outlet is covering it, so go see what Nindie Nexus or Switch Indie Fix or Switchaboo or one of those guys think if you want a better opinion. Otherwise, I'm giving it an anime bimbo jiggles her way through falling zombies out of 10. And strap in because Ultimate Games went to Taco Bell, ordered one of everything, and are just getting ready to all over the eShop this week. There's enough here that before we jump into the Thursday drop, we're going to cover all of their games in a section we're calling the Ultimate Games Gauntlet of Garbage. Cue the music. First up is War Truck Simulator, which splashes into the bowl on January 19th for $7.99. Drive around in a camouflage Jeep and touch the waypoints. The description says,
Hope you are ready. Get ready for challenging missions. Get in and gasp.
which, yeah, I mean, it was more of an exasperated sigh, but sure. There's another one. And then they also release Audie the Housekeeper for $9, which is some kind of mobile game where you set traps in a house to stop bad guys. It seriously looks like they found a way to make the Home Alone games for the NES even worse. If Macaulay Culkin played this game, he'd probably say, Last week we saw Head the Pig, the worst game ever made, which was developed by Projects from Basement and published by Ultimate Games. This week, for $5, they give that one a run for its money with Froderick the Driver. It's an abysmal top-down driving something or other about a Belgian shepherd who has run out of cigarettes. Seriously, at this point, it has to be so intentional. Like, I just assume that someone at Ultimate Games wants to see how much garbage they can unload before they get kicked off the eShop. And that is a shame, though, because they do have one decent-looking title this week. On the 20th, they team up with In Between Games and Consoleway to launch a title that looks better, at least, and that is All Walls Must Fall, a tech-noir tactics game, which drops for $9.99. And it's like a grab bag of sci-fi tropes wrapped into a tactics system that sits somewhere between real-time and turn-based. It's set in an alternate 2089 Berlin, and the Cold War is still raging on. There's time manipulation and cyberpunk stuff. It does look neat, but there's a lot of weird artistic choices that just don't land for me. The teams behind this game have made some good stuff in the past, and the soundtrack has a lot of great artists, including the composer for the Bleed series, whose music I use on Nindie Nation all the time. I'm really torn here. The reviews are in the low 70s, so maybe I'll just have to try it out for myself. The big Thursday drop this week is exactly that, with 14 releases on January 21st, and it all kicks off with Jiffy. Jiffy is a retro platformer that is designed to look like a Game Boy game by Lone Wolf Technologies. What the hell was that? It's $2, it looks pretty tough, but might scratch the itch if that's what you're looking for. It includes a bunch of levels and bosses, as well as an endless mode with procedurally generated levels, and is one I just might take a look at for myself this week. My absolute favorite part of making Nindie Nation is when I go to learn about a new game and immediately track down the publisher and request a copy so we can check it out together. And that's exactly what happened when I looked into Shing by Mass Creation, which launches this week for $14.99. Mass Creation has a solid track record with games like Draw Slasher and the Run Like Hell series, and this twin-stick arcade brawler already has a 92% score on Steam. Set to the backdrop of some gorgeous backgrounds and allowing for a selection of 4 different characters, Shing looks like an action-packed beat-em-up with dynamic levels that constantly change up the world around you. Mass Creation refers to it as a beat-em-up 2.0 because of the control scheme where your right analog stick controls attacks so that you have equal emphasis on moving around the stage while warding off enemies from all directions. Hopefully we can check this one out for Nindies at Night this week because it looks like a lot of fun. Every so often, you load up a trailer and you're met with an ESRB splash screen that's just lit up like a Christmas tree. You know,
Intense violence, blood and gore, nudity, drug reference, strong language.
and you're like, this is either gonna be awesome or holy what the is this? Whew. Okay. What the was that? In a million years, if you had asked me who the developer was for Sally Face, I might rattle off a bunch of horror directors, or maybe artists who just go out of their way to make disturbing imagery. I might even say Satan himself developed this game. What I wouldn't say is that it's from a solo developer who goes by the name Portable Moose. Okay, so it's a 2D puzzle adventure, and it's freaky as The reviews are actually decent, but guys, I'm sorry if the video isn't lining up right for this segment. I'm trying not to watch it anymore. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. $15 if you want to go see it for yourself, but no thank you, freaky stitched up paranormal doll face. No thank you. Deco is one of those publishers that is always hard to put in a corner. Sometimes their games are shameless cash grabs, but then other times they look like reasonable, fun little experiences. The latter is the vibe I'm getting from this week's Missile Dancer, which drops for $9.99. It's a vertical shoot-'em-up that looks right at home with the genre a la the early 90s. What it does differently is the way it manages your weapons. Guns are used mostly as a defense mechanism, and missiles are the tool of choice for taking out enemies. You'll be shooting down incoming attacks while using a force field to grab enemy missiles, and then turning those missiles back around on your foes, and it looks like a good time. The soundtrack reminds me of the Mega Man X series, and for those of you with a Switch flip grip, it supports vertical orientation too. For $10, Missile Dancer could be a fun, unique addition to your shmup library. And I was all ready to dump on our next title, called The Game Is On, for being a generic pixel art point-and-click adventure, but then I learned a little bit more about what the team at Bigosaur did to make this one stand out. The trailer does it more justice than I probably can, but it's basically a series of riddles that make you think about double entendres and potential puns. Kinda like a puzzle game where the answers are dad jokes. My favorite example from the trailer is where you have to impress a girl to move on, and the ultimate answer is to toss her into a gust of wind, which sends her flying off a building, because the answer to the riddle is that you blew her away. Get it? You get it? Like, blow her away? Clever. The Game Is On launches for $4.99. Where do I even start with this next one? How about...
Our heroine, Chloe, was born and raised in a caged town behind tall fences. Daily life in this town is peaceful, apart from the many suicides. One day, Chloe receives an admission notice for a prestigious school only enrolled by the elites of various races. Werewolf, invisible man, vampire, mummy.
And they're all horny as You take one part anime romance visual novel, one part yuppie rich kids, mix in a hefty dose of sexy monsters, and you've got a one-way ticket to underage Pound Town where everyone is filled with murderous intent and more hormones than a 12-year-old boy who just learned how to turn off Google's safe search. That, my friends, is Ephemeral Fantasy on Dark by Hune X, and they know they've got the niche of niches because if you want to join Chloe on her quest to explore her, coming-of-age story in a world that makes 50 Shades of Grey look like Sesame Street, it'll cost you $37.99. If you know what language is represented by the name of developer Gros Chavot, feel free to jump into the comments and tell me how to correctly pronounce it. This week, that team launches Unspottable for $11.99, and it is yet another
Zany multiplayer party game with a gimmick!
I will admit though, the concept of blending in among a bunch of NPCs and trying to be the first one to punch the other players before they punch you sounds like it'd make for a great time. But it also seems like one entry in what should be a collection of minigames. The visual style is really eye-catching, and there's clearly some effort here to make a well-rounded game, but I can't shake the notion that after 20 minutes, it's probably gonna get a bit old. If there were multiple other games and it supported online modes for dozens of players, it could be a great game for streaming. But with only this single premise at its core and support for only 4 players locally, I think we should wait for a sale before attempting to punch our friends. Ever since I played Jumping Flash on the original PlayStation, I've loved the idea of first-person obstacle platforming done right. And while we've seen tons of these games, with the most notable recent entry being Ghost Runner, I've yet to find a Nindie that does it exceptionally well. Let me know if you've found one because I'd love to check more of these out. Anyways, that's what we get with Epixer's release of Airbounce, the Jump and Run Challenge, which drops for $4.49. You run and jump your way through a first-person obstacle course in a varied low-polygon world, and I'm only hesitant because Epixer isn't exactly known for their stellar experiences. It is pretty cheap though, so I might check it out. If this is one you'd like to see me rage through in Nindies at Night, let me know. Is it just me, or are we seeing a significant resurgence of Arkanoid and Breakout clones? Well, we've got another this week, but this one seems like a good one. It's called Ghostinoid, and it's developed by Q Plays and ported from mobile by Joybits for $4.96. It's definitely got that get the 3-star rating thing we see in so many mobile games, but the artwork is nice, and the theme around lighthearted ghost hunting is at least a bit different than just generic shapes. I still think my favorite recent entry like this is Death's Hangover, but Ghostinoid looks like one more to add to the list. Next up is another one of those that's kinda hard to explain. I don't know how many of you will get the reference, but if you made music in Mario Paint back in the day, that's basically what Tadpole Treble Encore seems to be. The creator, Matthew Taranto, who goes by Bitfinity, has a popular webcomic that he's turned into a game inspired by Mario Paint, and it sees a tadpole basically swimming through musical notation. I'm not sure what all there is to do in this game, but I do like its composition mode that basically modernizes the same function from its inspiration. It's $9 and available on Thursday the 21st. If it's a super hard action puzzle platformer you're after, Nosferatu Lilinor also launches on the 21st and comes by way of a new publisher, Neon, for $13.71. It follows a little vampire girl and looks like a Castlevania game built in the style of Celeste. That might make it sound cooler than it actually is though, so let's hold off for now and revisit after we see some reviews or a sale, because it seems a bit pricey. Here's a quick take from someone who's never developed a video game. If you're going to put your mobile game on the eShop, would it kill you to change the aspect ratio appropriately? Or at least do a little something with the extra room on the sides of the screen? Anyways, Bouncing Hero is a procedurally generated tower climbing game where your character constantly bounces and you have to navigate them up a 13-story tower. It's actually got really good reviews on every other platform it's on, and it does look pretty fun. It'll cost you just $4.49 and is published by Turtle Cream? What the hell kind of name is that? What even is Turtle Cream? This is really gonna bug me now.
Begin your chess journey,
Says the description for Chess Royal, a $3 chess game. And I say, how about no, Silesia Games? How about no?
Prototype
Releases another entry in their anime visual novel based on Grisaya Phantom Trigger, and they're pumping out so many of these, this one is numbered 5.5, and it'll cost you $14.99. And finally, the last game releasing on the big Thursday drop is Bezier 2nd Edition for $4.99. It's a twin-stick shooter by Thalamus Digital that looks all kinds of neon crazy, but it has this weird effect where popular 90s words pop up all over the place as if it were a comic book. I don't know about that. And holy geez, we've still got 8 more games releasing on Friday, January 22nd, so for all intents and purposes, I'd say the eShop is back in 2021, and this train keeps on rolling. Hook Games was all like,
Aw, crap, we found more squares with colors on them. Better call it a relaxing puzzle game and put it on the eShop.
and that's the story of how Gradiently came to be. It's $2. Yay. And I you not, this was not intentional. But speaking of shapes and colors, Dragius Games is releasing Colorful Colore, it's color with an E, a side-scrolling retro platformer about, you guessed it, shapes and colors. Not now, you'll get your chance later. It's a pretty neat approach where you can see an entire maze on screen and you just have to find your way out of it. It's only $3 and, per the description, carries 2 points of note. They are 1. Simple yet challenging, and 2. Feels good. Whatever that means. A Nindie newcomer, Chili Dog Interactive, brings their take on side-scrolling puzzle games to the Switch for $6.99 with Catch, which is the word catch but with 2 T's. I'm gonna pronounce it as Catch. This is great.
Amazing! You finally found something you really needed! Colorful and enthralling platform game with the bold anthropomorphic animal as protagonist. Meet the Catch. Catch is the cat with a classy jersey. He acts just like you, and when he gets to chill, he loves to spend his time watching TV. Embark on an epic and dangerous journey, accompanied by dexterity, agility, and a keen mind. If you don't have any of those, it's not a big deal, because Catch will surely help you catch up.
Oh, I get it. They're taking the word that they made a cat pun with and then turning it back into... Wait, what is that? Is that a double reverse entendre? A triple entendre? A menage... No, that's something else. We've got point-and-click adventures, we've got dark, strange sci-fi stories, we've got beautiful watercolor artwork, and a $15 price tag. That means it's this week's game by Artifex Mundi, and it's called Abyss: The Wraths of Eden. Basically, the premise is the same as the original BioShock, big, fancy underwater world based in the 1960s, but
Something horrible happened?
that old chestnut. Neato. YFC Games, which I can only presume stands for Your Fried Chicken, released some kind of puzzle board game for $2 called Legend of Numbers, but it doesn't support TV play because they couldn't be bothered to do literally anything with the mobile port besides click File Save as Nintendo Switch. Again, I have no idea how video games are made. The Unexpected Quest is a bit of an interesting one. It's a medieval real-time strategy/adventure game developed by Ryonix and published by Overgames with a Z that basically takes a single round of Warcraft and turns it into an entire game where you build resources, explore new terrain, and do battle, but in that top-down formula that you'd expect to see more in an RTS. It's $12.75 and certainly contains some elements that make me a bit skeptical, but the approach does look interesting, and this publisher discounts their games pretty frequently, so this might be a good one to put on the wish list. And last but not least this week is Adverse, which is yet another one of those first-person low-poly platformers that has you maneuvering around a huge world filled with obstacles, but this time you also have a bow and arrow. It's developed by Lone Minded, and I was right there, ready to give them my $5.99, but then I noticed in the trailer that they kept focusing on how you die in the game, and almost every death was something that just came out of nowhere and knocked the character off of this super high platform, and I don't know about you, but that sounds super frustrating. Man, it's been a while since we've had a week like this. Tell you what, it's exhausting analyzing that many games, but at least there's a few good ones this week. I think Shing is my pick of the week, but I also like Ghostanoid, The Game Is On, and Missile Dancer. There's a lot of simple games this week that focus on doing one thing but with a little twist. Any of them jumping out to you? If so, let's talk about it in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. Oh, I almost forgot, PixArts has 2 releases this week, so don't buy Olympic Table Tennis or Clay Skeet Shooting because they're both just asset swaps from game engine demos, and PixArts are a bunch of scummy scam artists. Cool? Cool. Alright, it's time, citizens. There's a massive eShop sale happening right now, so here's what we're gonna do. In today's video, I'm gonna highlight 10 games that we haven't featured on Nindie Nation in a while. All 10 are at their lowest prices ever and carry very high recommendations, but I'll also be sharing more deals on Twitter, and I highly suggest you go look up our Black Friday video, because once again, most of these are the same deals that we saw back then, and they're all at the same prices. With 1,170 games currently discounted on the eShop, here are 10 picks that come highly recommended and are available through at least January 22nd. What else is there to say about Ori and the Blind Forest? If you haven't played this game yet, go grab the demo from the eShop now. It's one of the best Metroidvanias out there, and before you say,
But I don't like those games,
or
I don't usually play those.
would you just go play the demo? They're phenomenal games that are near perfect, and until January 22nd, if you try and like the demo, the full game is 30% off for $13.99. If you're too cool for school and think one-hit kill ninja action is the thing for you, you're in luck because Katana Zero is on sale for $8.99. Not only is the room scoping, perfect run planning, ninja-ass ninja action the best in its class, there's also an awesome story underneath that really puts some humanity behind the whole premise of the game. It's much more than it seems and includes one of the best Nindie soundtracks of recent years to boot. 40% off is the best we've ever seen, and it's a great time to jump in. All you RPG fans, listen up. I've got 2 games that I haven't recommended in a long time. The first of which is the Banner Saga, which is a stupid good deal at 80% off for $5. It's a 10-hour story that is perfect for anyone who enjoys Game of Thrones and uses some of the best hand-drawn artwork you'll ever see in a video game. It's a turn-based strategy with permadeath, but don't be scared by the difficulty because there are options to help you mitigate that. If you want a story better than most TV shows and gameplay that will make you think very carefully about every single move, the Banner Saga is an excellent 10-hour journey that will set the stage for an incredible trilogy to play through when you're finished. And if you want a more traditional RPG, a JRPG that isn't a JRPG if you will, and you haven't played Child of Light, it's time to right that wrong. I know, it's not technically a Nindie, but it was created by the director of Far Cry 3 back when Ubisoft was letting small independent teams incubate their own games under the UbiArt banner. It's a 10-hour JRPG with a battle system very similar to Final Fantasy X or the Grandia series, with a fairy tale story that is told entirely in iambic pentameter, which, fairy tale RPG that rhymes might not sound cool, but please trust me on this one. At $5, 75% off, this game is amazing. You like falling block puzzle games? You like sick beats? You gotta have Lumines Remastered on your Switch, especially when it's half off for only $7.50. This game, made by the masterminds behind Tetris Effect, Rez, and so many other trippy games, is perfect on the Switch, and I really can't imagine anyone, unless you just hate this type of game, not appreciating having Lumines always available. But let's say you just want to shoot some stuff, huh? Well, I've got two picks for you here. My Friend Pedro is a slightly janky, weird-as-hell game that is basically like playing through a John Wick fight scene. In any given level, you backflip off a roof, ride a zipline, land on a skateboard, and then kick it into a pile of explosives, all while firing Uzis until they run out of ammo and switching to a shotgun, and you do it all in slow motion against an excellent industrial soundtrack. When you're done, a homicidal talking banana rates your performance too. If that's not worth $10, I don't know what is. Here's another great pitch. A side-scrolling run-and-gun game, largely inspired by Contra, but with some modern twists, and every character is modeled after action movie stars from the 80s, and the entire thing is just drenched in Hulk Hogan-like
Hell yeah, brother, America
type stylings. It's called BroForce, it supports up to 4 players simultaneously online or off, and it's currently 75% off for just $3.74. The sequel to this next game was featured in our Best of 2020 series, and if you haven't played the original, right now you can pick up Bloodstained Curse of the Moon for $4.99. The easiest pitch is that this game is Castlevania 3, but if that doesn't ring a bell, then it's a retro side-scrolling action game with slower, methodical action where you have branching paths, multiple playable characters, and a ton of replay value. This game is about as polished as an NES-style game can get, and if you're worried about the difficulty, know that you can play in an easier mode that gives you the full experience without ruining what makes it so great. It's been a while, so I'll remind you again that there's this game that is basically Peggle, the game where Bust-A-Move meets Pachinko. It's amazing. It's Peggle, but built as a Nindie trifecta, and that game is Round Guard. This is the kind of game that you'll get on your Switch and either get sucked into it for hours and hours, or maybe you'll download it and find that it's the perfect game for a quick round or two whenever you have a few minutes to kill. Round Guard takes the addictive skill-based game with a little bit of luck, weaves in some hilarious writing, and then structures it all around procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements. Round Guard is an excellent puzzle action game that should be fun for just about anyone, and it's currently 55% off for $8.99. And finally, one of the indie games that is responsible for indie games being as big of a thing as they are, on consoles at least, is Rogue Legacy, and let me tell ya, if there was ever a Nindie trifecta to Nindie trifecta, it's this bad boy right here. Rogue Legacy is basically a side-scrolling Metroid-like game where you work your way through a castle, see how far you can get, and then when you die, a randomly generated descendant takes your place. You'll start from the beginning each time, but you'll always be getting just a little bit stronger, and as far as I'm concerned, it's the game that modernized the trifecta formula. The castles are procedurally generated, the roguelike mechanics are literally in the name of the game, and there is no denying that it is full of RPG elements. It's a great game, really at any price. But at 66% off for just $5.09, I'd consider Rogue Legacy a Nindie Nation must-buy. But really, there are so many more great deals out there. Go check out our Black Friday video to see tons of other games worth considering, and check the video's description because I categorized and timestamped everything. I'm sure a lot of you have already been checking out the sales since it's been live for a few days now. So get into the comments, hit the pinned comment where I'll ask what deals you found, and share even more great picks so that everyone can grab something while the going's good. Next week is episode 100, and I want to hear from all of you. I guess you could call it an AMA, but I want you to write in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation and ask about something. We'll have a fun discussion out of it. What games have been your favorite since you started checking out Nindie Nation? Have I totally steered you wrong and I owe you an apology? Let me know and I just might fall on my sword for you. Tell me about a game you took a chance on that you fell in love with. Tell me what Nindies you're really excited about for in 2021. Or shoot, just ask me something. Anything. I don't care. I'm knee-deep in a bunch of new Nindie Nation content right now, so I can't really make a huge blowout episode. So in lieu of that, I'd love to dedicate some time to just having some back and forth with all of you, the people who helped Nindie Nation get to 100 episodes. You're the whole reason this thing exists. Other than that, you know the spiel. We post on Tuesdays, and if you want to listen, there's an audio feed hosted by our friends at the Nintendo Village. They're an awesome source for everything Nintendo, and I hope you go check them out at thenintendovillage.com. We do streams on Thursday, and if I may, I think last week's with Hong Kong Massacre, Shadow Gangs, and an epic run of Juicy Realm were especially fun. So if you can, join us this week when we go live on Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Depending on how the deals pan out this week with so many of them expiring on Friday, we'll probably be back with a quick eShop deals video to help you kick off your weekend with some brand new Nindies too. 99 episodes. Wow. Thanks for sticking around for so long, and thanks for being so much fun to chat with in the comments, on stream, on Twitter, all of it. Next week is a big one, citizens, because we've finally got Cyber Shadow releasing, and it's, of course, episode 100. However, that's next week, and for today, we're all done. Until next time, I'm Jeff, this has been Nindie Nation episode 99, and remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.